All right, everybody, I'm Adam Parkamenko, and I am filling in for Mary Trump today. Another day in Donald's America, another crisis of his own making. Millions of families are waiting to find out if they can afford groceries because the self-proclaimed billionaire president decided to play chicken with their food. From SNAP benefits to grounded fights to ICE raids, this shutdown is showing us exactly who he values, and we know who he doesn't. So with that, let's dive in. Thank you guys for waiting. Sorry, I was a minute or two late. This will be extra scrappy today. Mary is out. I'm Adam Parkamenko. I am live from North Carolina, where my son has a swim meet today, but I'm so excited to be back. Thank you to all of you that are here, including our moderators. First tonight, we have some breaking news in Donald's ongoing quest to starve this country. CNN is reporting that today, federal judge John McConnell of Rhode Island ordered the Trump regime to fully fund Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, aka SNAP, through November. The program lost funding on October 31st due to the government shutdown. Today is day 37 of the shutdown, and tomorrow will be day 38. Started October 1st, and we count weekends. Last week, McConnell and another judge of Massachusetts ruled that regime was legally required to use contingency funds to keep SNAP running. Now, NPR reports that since then, the Trump regime had issued updated guidance on SNAP benefits during the ongoing government shutdown. While the new guidelines reduced cuts to food assistance, they would still have left millions of people facing reductions and delays. Even with today's updates, some worry that implementation of the latest changes could be chaotic and slow, which, as we know, there are millions of Americans in desperate need. States must reallocate benefits using a complicated new formula that many computer systems aren't even equipped to handle. Officials worry it could take weeks or even months to roll out this aid. It remains to be seen how the Trump regime will respond to this latest order from Judge McConnell. Now, could an end actually be in sight for this government shutdown? I've thought for weeks that this was going to go past Thanksgiving and at least maybe even Christmas. This shutdown's been in effect for over a month, and it's now the longest in U.S. history. CBS News is reporting that senators have been negotiating in hopes of striking a deal to reopen the government. Now, CBS says talks in recent days have centered on a proposal that would involve tying an extension of government funding to a package of three longer-term appropriation bills, with a premise from Senate Republicans to hold a vote on extending healthcare tax credits by a certain date. Now, one Democrat said reversing some of the Trump administration's mass firings of federal employees has also been discussed. But House Speaker Mike Johnson, or as I like to call him, Little Johnson, has refused to commit to a House vote on healthcare subsidies. Now, take a look at his latest comments on this issue in this next clip.
He's offered them a vote. You know what they told him in response? No, we need you to guarantee the outcome of that vote. Well, that's ridiculous. That can't be done.
The House is funded from the Senate. Will you assure the House members that they'll get a vote, House Democrats, that they'll get a vote on HCA subsidies by a date certain?
No, because we did our job, and I'm not part of the negotiation. The House did its job on September 19th. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out. I'll tell you what they wanted. I'll tell you what Schumer and Jeffries wanted. In fact, Chuck Schumer said it publicly and decried that Thune and I would not go in a back room with them and make a four corners agreement on Obamacare subsidies. And I said, there's no way. That it was never possible or appropriate.
Now, the Trump regime shutdown has been taking a massive toll on air traffic. So transportation officials are finally taking action. Let's take a look at this clip from ABC News.
Tonight, the government shutdown hits 36 days, marking the longest in history, breaking the previous record set during President Trump's first administration. And the strain on air travel reaching a breaking point.
This is about where is the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure?
In an unprecedented move, President Trump's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announcing the FAA will cut flight capacity by 10%, which experts say means thousands of flights will be canceled across 40 major airports by the weekend. What will this mean practically for air travel? Is this going to lead to more flight delays, more cancellations?
Well, I think it's going to lead to more cancellations.
At Washington Dulles Airport, FAA radar technician and union rep Cleverson Schmidt warning the impact will get worse the longer the shutdown drags on.
You were already short-staffed.
Correct.
And how much worse has the shutdown made it?
It's exponentially made it worse because we're exhausted now.
And how much does that compromise air safety?
That compromise goes up every single day.
Now, this is literally why we drove down to North Carolina. If you're in a position to drive rather than fly, I highly recommend it. These reductions are going into effect tomorrow, the 38th day of the shutdown, as we discussed earlier. Today's day 37. Now, 40 airports from coast to coast will be affected at a minimum. I expect that probably to grow. These cuts are focused on the hubs with the literally heaviest air traffics. In other words, international airports, including those in New York, Chicago, LA, and Washington, D.C. Aircraft accident investigator Jeff Guzzetti told NBC News that the federal government has never slashed flights like this before. Now, he said, quote, "The closest comparison would be shutting down the airspace during September 11th for 2 days," which is unbelievable. With the holiday season just around the corner, people are bracing themselves for canceled flights and travel hell. Now, just to kind of go back to this, there are still families grieving right now throughout this country where a plane and a helicopter crashed just as the latest rendition of this Donald Trump administration got started at DCA. We've seen accident after accident, and many of this, comes as we just saw one, the UPS carrier in Louisville, days after thousands and thousands of jobs were announced to be slashed by UPS. I think the totality of all of this is having just an absolutely devastating effect when combined with all the other chaos that Donald and his administration are doing. You all have seen it yourselves, no matter where you go, as we're talking about the holiday season, whether it's a Walmart or a DMV or a Home Depot. And a lot of the businesses, obviously, like Home Depot, that we don't want to go into because that's putting money into the GOP pockets, but they're empty. They're empty because of ICE. They're empty because of the economy. They're empty because people are losing their jobs. It's unbelievable. And this shutdown is just ravaging so many sectors and millions of American lives. But I'll tell you who is carrying on as usual, as we just talked about, ICE and CBP. Agents from ICE and Customs and Border Protection are still collecting paychecks. And as many of you have heard and seen, those that are joining ICE now are getting a $50,000 bonus to do so. In fact, an exclusive report, Reuters report found that back in October, they received a, quote, super check covering pay for all hours worked during the shutdown, as well as the next pay period, to ensure they were not impacted by the shutdown. I've talked to a number of law enforcement officers recently throughout the country. As many of you know, because I see a bunch of friends on here in the comments, I was a reserve with DC Police for over 15 years. And I don't know what better way to put it, but many of these officers, while they're working insane hours, are making more than they've ever made before, because there's not a lot of people that want to join these police departments. They're working, and when you have people working 16, 18-hour days, that's not healthy for a number of reasons. Because when you go out and you get in that patrol car, whatever you're going to be doing working that day, you need to be 100%. And if you're not 100%, it's your job to tell folks you're not up to the job that day. And you have a duty to be out there and do everything you can to protect the public. And we're seeing basically just the opposite right now. And these agents are doing exactly what Donald Trump wants, as you all know. They're targeting and punishing brown people while spreading fear. And yesterday in Chicago, ICE agents violently detained a daycare teacher in front of parents and children, despite her being there legally. Devastated witnesses and community members gave WGN News their accounts of the incident. I'd like you all to take a look if you have a moment here.
It's just absolute terror. Like, why are you at a daycare at 7 a.m? This isn't right. This isn't America, and this isn't who we are. It's an absolute travesty.
Those sentiments echoed by Alderman Matt Martin, quickly alerted to what was going on, telling us the woman appears to have been followed here in her vehicle.
ICE agents followed her in, violently detained her. There's a child inside. They identified it as the school. Her sister was on site, showed her paperwork. ICE took her away, nevertheless.
Adding, if you can't be safe at work, in a daycare, then where can you?
This is truly horrible. You have the president who will say, we're taking the worst of the worst off the streets and there's more to come in Chicago. And like, what else? Like, they've come to hospitals, they've come to daycares. What's next? There's no one doing what ICE did to our community today.
It's devastating. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely illegal. And it continues. I mean, again, as I said earlier, you know, for those of you that have been to the DMV recently, right? We're used to just these long lines and people are scared to go anywhere. You know, right now you need a quote unquote real ID to fly. But if your ID is not expiring for another 2 or 3 years, why are you going to go in and get a real ID, even if you're here legally, and risk harassment or being thrown on the ground, as we've seen even with the congressional candidate in Illinois who's since been indicted on those charges. It's a terrible situation, and it's not what this promises to be, which again, I'd like to just say for a second, the Mamdani election night speech to me was incredible, because I have a father who is from then West Germany and is Ukrainian, and a mother who's here from England. My father came over on a newly reopened cargo ship, newly reopened Ellis Island on a cargo ship, and to hear Mamdani talk about what this country is, what it has been, what it could be, and then to talk about how an immigrant is now representing this city that so many immigrants came through, was really an incredible moment. So with that, I guess I would say we've reached today's emotional moment. I'd like to kind of talk about any questions that you guys have. Dennis, who's awesome, is going to throw some up on the screen, and hopefully we can also do some thank yous. But I'm so grateful for all you guys are doing to support Mary and her Mary Trump Media Company. And I know this is probably a little bit quicker tonight, but I'll take as many questions as we have, or any comments. I love the Oval Office sign. Looks like it printed on copy. Yeah, so if you guys haven't seen outside the Oval Office now, there's another piece of probably plaster that's been spray painted gold, and the Oval Office, as if people don't know what the Oval Office is, it literally looks like it's printed on stock paper, and not just that, like maybe that the ink cartridges are running out. It is beyond tacky, and you know, I think Marie Antoinette would like him to tone it down just a little bit. Super at number 57. Yes, I don't know that there's more to say to that. Usha's another. Yeah, you know, I am. I don't have the ability to put it up. Maybe we'll put it up tomorrow. But Keith Edwards posted this like great side by side of Usha and JD at the convention, and then a picture of them together now. And it looks like 30 years has gone by, and that's what hate will do to you. But you know, as I kind of said, I guess the golden age is here, as Donald and his friends like to say. Did anybody see the picture of Trump in the Oval Office today when a man had a medical emergency? If it doesn't benefit him, no empathy. I have not seen it yet because I've been on the road, but that sounds extremely believable. I mean, this guy, Donald, does not care about anybody's health, what happens to somebody, including any of his family members, right? I mean, he's got an ex-wife buried on his golf course so that he can receive a tax credit, and everything is all since overgrown. He loves and enjoys seeing people humiliated, and that goes for anybody in his family but himself. Greetings from Dallas. Thank you and thank you guys. I think there's more Democrats in Texas than there are Republicans. I think the unfortunate part is, and people will say, well, then that's not just about gerrymandering. Why can't we win statewide elections? Well, people forget that in recent years, there's been over 700 polling locations done away with in Texas. So Republicans have done anything and everything they can to make it harder for Democrats and people of color and the disability community, even with a governor with disabilities, to vote. And I after what we just saw on Tuesday night throughout the country, everywhere, whether it was Kansas or Mississippi or Florida, a bunch of areas that were not discussed on election night. I've got a lot of hope for Texas, and I'm grateful that California clapped back to Texas along the way, even though that is obviously not the fault of our friend in Dallas here. Frankly, Home Depot, Chick-fil-A, and Hobby Lobby can, well, yes. And they can probably do a lot on the and there's a bunch of other companies too. I mean, what I've been saying to folks is, like, even Spotify is on the list right now. If you can find some of these companies just to ignore, but if there's a recurring one, just pick one if you can do away with it for a while. But as we've seen, with ABC and Disney, that Streisand effect is real, and I hope people continue to step up and protest in different ways, even if it means not throwing $1 to a company. ICE is disgusting. I totally agree. And to be honest with you all, as always, there was a period, back when I was with the DC Police Department, I actually applied and looked at ICE. This is years and years ago, for HSI, because you have to apply by the age of 37. I turned 40 last week. And there was a time where it was actually respected in terms of HSI. I used to work at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I worked with a bunch of different agents there from multiple different agencies, and the postal inspectors, FBI agents, you name it. They were doing some really good work. And now what we're seeing is basically the same thing that we saw with Putin, learning from when the military failed to shoot Yeltsin in the early 90s, and Putin got into power later on. He started combining everything, right? He started all the different pieces of the military forces into one, so much so that the person that he put on top of that was actually his personal chef, because he wanted to make sure one of the only people he trusted was in charge of that military. Donald Trump, no doubt, is not smart enough to know the history and know all that kind of stuff, but he does have people around him, including the Steve Bannons of the world, and let's not forget the Paul Manaforts of the world, who know the history in Russia and know things that have been done to build exactly what we're seeing them do. So I'm not surprised to see good FBI agents being fired, FBI agents being pulled out of the offices and put on the street as if they are Customs and Border Patrol, and everything just being combined into one. It's a disgrace, and I wish more agents, they're, some of them, the good ones, are in a tough place, basically in between a rock and a hard place, because they may have a year or two left before they get their retirement that they've been working their entire career for, and kids that they're putting through college and so forth. But that doesn't give anybody the right to ever do anything illegal or take away anybody's rights. We will see if we have any others. If not, anyone, Dennis, that we want to thank? I know sometimes you guys have those stickers and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, we'll just keep it rolling. Okay, Susan's the best. Susan's been a moderator for Mary from day one, and Susan's so grateful for all that you do. Thank you for sharing the Substack. And I see that you put in $10 there as well, so thank you for that. Joe from Colorado, good news for my oncologist, celebration fee. That's awesome, congrats. We've had a number of family members recently that have been dealing with stuff, including one who's in remission from pancreatic cancer that somehow was found in stage 2, which is not normally done. So congrats, Joe. I hope everything continues to go well. I'm going to mess that up, but Kokui 1949, thank you for becoming a YouTube member for Mary. Regina Wolf, thank you for supporting Mary. People have been saying money seems to be missing from the emergency SNAP funds. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, look, Donald Trump talks, every week about all these trillions of dollars he's brought in, and we heard so much about the money that and by the way, we don't know anything about these trillions, whether if there's really that kind of money coming in, it would cover so many different things, but I don't think it is unless he's just putting it into his personal coffers. We had heard that there were 2 emergency SNAP funds. I believe each were $3 billion. Mike Levin has eloquently, who's on appropriations, Democrat from California, talked about how they all know in Congress, including the Democrats, that those emergency SNAP funds are indeed able to be used for a shutdown. And this is exactly what it is, an emergency. What are we going to be doing when people are starving? If that's not an emergency, what is? I have zero faith, though, that we're going to get to the bottom of much of any of this until Democrats take the House back. Elvin Archer, gifted Mary. Thank you for supporting Mary Trump Media, Elvin. Susan wants to know if you have a Ukrainian connection. I do. My father is Ukrainian, and he is in Ukraine right now. He actually just he went 3 weeks ago. For those that are familiar with the travel now, it's a lot different. So he had to make his way to Warsaw, and then by way of Warsaw train. So it's a longer trip, and since he's been there, there's already been a number of explosions and so forth. But he's getting older, and he never knows when it's going to be his last trip. And he loves the country, and you can't stop him from going. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. I will be back tomorrow. I'll be a little more organized because I won't be on the road all day. But I just want to say thank you. I know Mary's out today and tomorrow, but she has a really incredible group of folks here who have supported her day to day from day one. Some of you, as we just saw, are new members. She literally is one of the only outspoken Trumps, and one, if not the only one, that is continually been on the right side of history. And so I appreciate that all you guys do to continue to help build her platform. If you're not subscribed to her Substack, please consider doing so. She is back on Blue Sky, posting there a lot more. She's on Instagram as well. So whatever you're on, Threads, Twitter, you name it, she's there. And I just want to say on the Twitter piece, what I've been saying to folks is, because I know a lot of people got off after the election, look, it's like the Nazis that were in Germany, right? Did we not go to Germany because there were Nazis there? I think that is basically the Republican town hall. There's tons of reporters there. There's tons of terrible people there, but we have to fight there. We have to get our message out there. And I know many of you are. So leave no platform unturned, just because obviously of Elon's involvement. But most importantly, thank you guys for helping build her YouTube channel, which I think is just turning around a year old now. It's still relatively new, and continues to grow exponentially thanks to you guys. So with that, I hope everyone has a great night. I will see you tomorrow.